Well, it's been another frustrating day for social grant recipients. Thousands of senior citizens and the disabled have been waiting in long lines for hours. A glitch in the system left many unable to collect their money. Let's find out more from Sassa spokesperson Paseka Letsatsi. Paseka, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Just tell us more about this problem you're encountering.
Good afternoon, Shahan, and good afternoon to the viewers as well. Yes, we can indeed confirm that the 4th of May and the 5th of May were specifically reserved for people who are supposed to be getting the old age grant and disability grant respectively. What has been happening, I think we did some run around this morning just to check in terms of the processes which were taking place. We have actually got the report from provinces to say there were some actually problems which existed, and I think what we have done to interact with our regions was to request them to make sure that our response team respond to them immediately.
But you've known this payment day was coming, and now, of course, we have very fragile senior citizens traveling long distances for their money, putting their lives at risk and actually contracting COVID-19. It's inexcusable. We just saw someone faint a short while ago in a line.
No, there's no one who can say whatever that we've been observing is good. We need to make sure that we put more of our work staff. We need to make sure that we put more effort to make sure that these are the most vulnerable sectors of our beneficiaries. Hence, Shahan, the decision which we took was that you need to make sure that you only start with both disability grant and older persons grant. Therefore, you then have to do other forms of social grant on the 6th, and we think we need to make sure that our systems are such that people do not necessarily have to wait for longer when they come to get their money. We do agree, hence we gave an instruction to some of our officials on the ground to make sure that in some instances they must be there, they must make sure that when there's a problem, for example, if there's a delay, someone must make a decision there and intervene immediately without even having to wait for a decision to come somewhere.
Paseka, previously when people were paid social grants, we saw people die. Elderly people died in these long lines. I mean, we're seeing more long lines again this time around, which goes to show that your system is clearly not capable of handling the pressure. It also goes to show that you haven't properly pre-planned for something like this, because we're seeing it all over again.
You see, Shahan, there are multiple forms of payment in which we think our beneficiaries must take advantage of them. One, our beneficiaries can get their grant from the post office. Secondly, our beneficiaries can get our grants at the merchants. Thirdly, the beneficiaries have got the right to get their grant at any bank of their own choice. And we think these are some of the available opportunities which our beneficiaries can use. But one of the things that we need to make it very clear, Shahan, is that beneficiaries do not necessarily have to go and get their money on the first day of payment. People's money will be there, it's secured in their accounts. Beneficiaries can go and get their money and access it at any given day as they wish, because we are trying to avoid people flocking at the same place at the same time. We know last month, Shahan, when I explained the matter, that when I asked some of the old people why do they come on the first day, I think they explained to me that I don't have anything to eat at home. And so those are some of the things which, as an organization, we understand. But we just want to say to our beneficiaries, their money is secured in their account. They can get access to it at any given moment.
Paseka, your answer to what you just said now tells you that what you're saying also is not good enough, because you can't say to people that wait until tomorrow or the next day to get your money when these people have told you that they're going hungry, which is why they need the money the first day it is available. So how are you going to ensure that the elderly and disabled are protected when they are going to get their social grants?
No, you're quite right, Shahan. I think what I meant earlier on, if I did not explain myself properly, was that there are multiple channels of payment where people can be able to get access to their grant. They do not necessarily have to use one available method. People can choose whatever so that we do not necessarily flock to one area. However, we also need to make sure that we intensify this campaign to make sure that our people are aware about it. I'm saying I've just seen now that they were at the shopping complex trying to get access to their money. People could have gone to the post office. People have the right to choose which particular bank to get the access to their money and so on. And these multiple channels of payment, Shahan, we have provided it to make sure that we avoid people flocking to one area at the same time. We need to make sure that even other infrastructure, especially when it comes to the payment day, is broad enough so that people can get access to those particular infrastructure as possible.
I know you have a very tough job here because you're seeing to millions of people who need social grants, but it's still inexcusable for what we're seeing. I mean, just imagine old people over 65 years old, some of them are even 90 years old, traveling all that way, fainting in lines. The last time we saw several die in a line. I mean, we have a president who talks about this all the time, but it still persists. I really don't see any excuse for why this should be happening this time around again.
Look, Shahan, I think we agree and accept that particular thing.
So what are you doing? What are you doing to make it better? You don't just have to agree and accept it. You need to give us solutions about how this is not going to happen again in the future.
This is what we are saying, Shahan, because I think me and you, our concerns are the same. I mean, we would not want to see anything happen to our most vulnerable sector of our society. Hence, we are saying we are appealing to our people to use whatever payment channel that is available to them. We must not necessarily promote one payment channel over the other. People can use whatever that is safe for them to be able to access their money.
So what happens tomorrow? Because I know some people will return to those lines to get their money. Are they still going to be there for hours, or are you fixing the problem now?
This is the first day, Shahan. I think, remember, there were some top-ups this month which happened. There must have been a separation of money that has been topped up in terms of the beneficiary and so on. And we think the system, as it picks up the following day, will do things better.